of theft and robbery. So just to distinguish between the two, of course, in Hebrew, Geneva, Gzela, and Geneva. The difference is, so Geneva, which you would translate as theft, means steal, and that is done surreptitiously. The person, right, he steals without the owner knowing, he seeks to avoid detection. That's a ganef. A gazlan is a brazen robber that steals, that robs by force. That's a gazlan. So there's Geneva and there's Gzela, and many different laws apply to them respectively. Now the Rambam says as follows: Kol hagoizel es chaveiroi. You can look at it in the English. We'll read it together. Whenever a person robs, now we're talking here about, again, it's by force. A colleague means a fellow Jew, anyone, of even a pruta's worth. A prut is a basic, the lowest coin denomination which can purchase something. Basic food. Anything less than that is considered negligible. The person doesn't value it. But a pruta, he is considered as if he took his very soul. As Proverbs states, such are the ways of those who are greedy. They take away the soul of the owner. Before we go further, don't read up. Okay, you're going to read anyway, so I'll read with you. Because you're not going to listen to me. So let's read it. Notwithstanding the severity of this sin, if the article that was taken by robbery no longer exists, it's destroyed or it was sold, whatever he did with it, the robber, and it cannot be traced if it was sold, and the robber seeks or comes to repent, seeks to repent, and comes of his own volition to return the value of the article he obtained by robbery. So we're talking in a case where that which he robbed doesn't exist. If it does, then he returns that, obviously, and we take it from him. But in the case when it doesn't exist, and he comes of his own volition to pay the value, our sages ordained, nonetheless, notwithstanding what we just said at the outset, the opening paragraph, that robbery is like taking a person's life, nonetheless, if he comes of his own volition, our sages ordained that one should not accept it, the value that he wants to pay now because it doesn't exist anymore. Instead, the robber should be helped and forgiven to make the path of repentance more accessible to those who wish to return. Our sages did not look favorably on anyone who accepts payment for an article that was taken from him through robbery. In other words, you could take the money if you wanted, but our sages discourage it strongly, as you just heard. And if a person did take the money, he'd be violating an enactment of the sages. Okay, we're going to deal with the first paragraph first and the second paragraph second. How's that? Not a bad idea. The question on the first paragraph are several, and here they are. Everything that Rambam says, obviously, is sourced in the Gemara, in the Talmud, or in the other halachic works of our sages of that genre. The Tosefta and so on. So the question is this: if you look up the source of the Rambam's quote, it's from Tractate Baba Kama. The author is Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan says that whoever robs, word for word quote, as he often does, robs a colleague of even a pruta's worth, he's considered as if he took his very soul, as Proverbs states, such are the ways of those who are greedy, they take away the soul of their owner. However, Rabbi Yochanan's quote does not stop there. We're talking about the severity of robbery. Rabbi Yochanan says that it extends even to his children. It's like he took away the lives of the children and brings a scriptural support for that. He extends it further, even if you paid for it, but you took it by force against the will of the owner, but you put the money down and took it. It applies even then. And it applies even if you robbed the person or deprived them of livelihood indirectly. It was a source of livelihood and you eliminated that. One is also guilty as well. So Rabbi Yochanan extends the severity of robbery 3 more steps. Children, even if you pay for it, even if you do it indirectly. And our question is, why does the Rambam stop short in his quotation? Why doesn't he quote the other 3 teachings of Rabbi Yochanan that convey the severity of robbery? Why does he only speak about a case where the person robbed directly from the owner and not talk about his children and not talk about even when he pays for it and not talk about indirect robbery? That's question number 1. Now, the second question is a very more basic question. Why is robbery considered as if he took the person's life? So there are several answers offered by the commentaries, which we will look at. And upon scrutiny, they seem to fall short of really answering the question. Let's begin our little journey. The first explanation offered by the commentaries is based on the teaching of Tosfos in another tractate that says, now you're going to help me here, friends. You're going to tell me why this answer doesn't satisfy. He says there could be a case where the person is destitute. You take away his last coin, so he doesn't have money to buy food, and he perishes. Could the Rambam be speaking about such a case? Please tell me, friends. Look at the quote and tell me. Yes or no, and bolster your argument. Well, just prove your point.
Well, yeah, because if he's been robbed of his last penny, so how is he able to support his family? How, like, we're assuming the money that he's using is to support himself and his family. So if his last penny is taken, he's not only robbed the man of his money, but the potential for his family to eat as well.
All right. So the reason why we can't accept this answer is because the Rambam says any case, kol hagoizel, whenever a person. He just doesn't simply say it's talking a case where the other fellow is there. If he would have just said a person who robs of his colleague, without adding that word in Hebrew, kol, or whenever or whoever, there's 2 ways you could explain that. Same thing. If he wouldn't add that word kol, then the answer that you gave, which the commentary suggests, would be tenable. Speaking in a case when you've robbed his last dollar. But he's clearly talking about every case, even if you steal $1 from a rich man, same thing. Whenever, whoever robs from his fellow, it's like he takes his life. It's unqualified, it's all embracing. And therefore we're still left puzzled. Why would that apply even to a rich man? So we're rejecting that answer, although it's a good suggestion. Here's another suggested answer. Now, there's a statement in the Talmud, without giving you the whole context, because we don't have time, that says that for the righteous, their money is more precious than their body, than their life, than their physical life. That's a positive statement on its own. Eitzelat tzadikim chaviv memoino lahem yoyse megufa. And the Gemara brings several supports for that, illustrates it. Now, the question is why? That's a shocking statement on the surface. That for the righteous, their money is more precious to them, chaviv, more precious, than their body, than their physical life. So, one of the answers, this is Chassidus. I'll give you there's many answers to the question, but the most satisfying, the deepest, is in Chassidus. And the answer is, why do we have a body? Why did our soul come into a body? As you all well know, the soul comes down to the body to reveal godliness in the body, in the world, in the natural world. The soul was doing fine in heaven, but Hashem sends the neshama down to the world on the great mission to reveal godliness here in this physical world, to make this world a home for God. Now, how much of the world can a person affect with his own physical self? How much of the world can he elevate? Can he reach? Can he touch? Can he engage? Extremely limited. But if he has wealth, with his money, he can extend his reach far beyond his own physical presence. He can help thousands or more. If he has a lot of money, millions. Build institutions and feed the poor and so on. There's so much a person can do in making this world a home for God, much more than just his physical presence. How many people can he visit in a day? How many people can he invite to his home? How many people can he feed? How many people can he teach, counsel, and inspire? It's very limited. But if he has resources, he has financial resources, he can build and he can inspire others. And I don't have to tell you. It takes money to build yeshivas and hospitals and food banks. It takes a lot of money, and the more, the greater the effect. So therefore, that's the explanation that Chassidus gives, a very beautiful explanation, that for the righteous, their resources are more precious than their own physical body, because this way they can affect others and impact the world so much more. Maybe that's the explanation. It doesn't matter how much you take. With this, I could have done something very good. And that's why my soul came down. That's why I exist. So you're like, take away my life. You rob me of whatever the amount. You've taken a piece of my life, because this is my whole life. My whole purpose for every Jew. Certainly the righteous, but we're extending this generally to every Jew. In essence, because every Jew is here to carry out this mission without exception. So you take my dollar, I can't. You've robbed me of the ability to be able to do something good with it and affect another Jew and elevate the world. You've taken my life. Maybe that's the explanation. Now, while that is a very beautiful explanation in its own right, it cannot be what the Rambam means. That cannot be the Rambam's intent. And I'll tell you why. Maybe you can tell me why. If you think about what the Rambam is saying, this can't be what it means. Although it's a very beautiful teaching, and it's true. And based on a teaching, the explanation I just gave you is based on a teaching of our sages. That for the righteous, their finances, their money is more precious than their own physical body. All true, but that can't be the intention of this halacha here. Why not? I'll tell you why not. Because then it wouldn't make any difference whether it was taken by theft or by robbery or through cheating in a business deal. It makes no difference. This dollar was taken away from me that I can use for the purpose of my soul's descent, and you took it. So you take a piece of my life, or you take my life. It makes no difference whether it was taken surreptitiously, undetected, and I find out later, or if I don't find out, you took my life, because then my whole life is to use my resources to elevate the world. So the bottom line is, it's not confined, it's not limited to a case of gezela. Gezela is robbery. taken by force, even if it wasn't taken by force. The same thing would apply. Like you take my life for the reason, according to this reason that we just gave. So we're back to square one. What's the reason why anyone, no matter how much you take from anyone, if you take it by force, you've like taken their life. We're back to square one. We need to have an answer. Now there's another answer that's offered, which we're going to reject as well. There's a statement of our sages that say that to lust a possession, to covet a possession, an article, whatever it might be, anything. It's one of the 10 Commandments. It's a prohibition of our colleague, the fellow Jew, from his wife to his possession. That's considered like murder already, because if God forbid the person really lusts for it, then he won't stop to get it. And if there's resistance, I want it. And if there's resistance, then he will slay, he will kill the owner. So because it can lead to that, we consider it as if already it's a kind of murder. When you lust something that belongs to somebody else, you've murdered them already in essence, because on some level you're ready to kill him, to take it. You're already harboring those thoughts. You're thinking, I wish I could kill this guy, get rid of him, eliminate him somehow, so I can take his whatever it is that you want. Even though you didn't do it, since you harbor those feelings, our sage consider on some level it's already like murder. Now you might want to say, this is an ingenious answer, the same thing is true here. Because when a person comes and robs by force, he knows there could be a resistance. He's ready to kill. Armed robbery, he's ready to kill. It's, right? He prefer not to, just wants to get the object, the money. But as the old saying goes, your money or your life, right? That's what robbery means. So since he has that intention, we consider it already now as if he did, because at some level he's ready to do it. Maybe that's the explanation. But it's not. For several reasons. I'll just give you one reason why we cannot accept this as the explanation for this ruling of the Rambam, and that is because when our sages say, as I just shared with you, that lust or coveting is like murder, they use the example, they use the language, murder, shvichas domim, spilling of blood. So if that's what the Rambam meant, that's the language you should have used. Anybody who's robbed is like he spilled blood, because we consider the possibility that he is ready for, as if he already did it, like he spilled blood. He doesn't say he spilled blood. He says takes his soul. So that's something else, clearly. Remember the text? Look at the text, friends. Have a look. Kilu noitel nishmas. Like he takes his soul. So it's not literal murder, spilling of blood that we are talking about, because that's what he meant. He would have said so. Shvichas domim, that's the expression. So we've offered 4 possible answers, rejected them all. We're left wanting. No, so what's the explanation? Should I review all the answers and their rebuttals, or we should go straight to the answer? Oi, it's already 4 minutes to 9. We'll just quickly review the questions very quickly.
Yes.
The first one was, why does maybe you can tell me, what was our first question? Why does the Rambam fall short when quoting this is Rabbi Yochanan. This teaching comes from Rabbi Yochanan in the Talmud. Why does he fall short of adding 3 more severities that Rabbi Yochanan extended this principle. It applies even to the children of the person you robbed from. It applies even when you actually take it by force but pay for it. And it applies even if you do it indirectly. Why did he not quote those severities? Oh, this is my grandson Meir Shloime, who led the services yesterday in Chabad of Montville, very beautifully, and his bar mitzvah is in about a year away.
Yeah. What?
That was the first question. And then we asked the basic question, why is it that by robbing, like you take their life? Why? What's the reason? So the first answer was, maybe it's his last dollar. Well, that can't be the explanation here, because he says any case, in any case, even $1 from a rich man. So that can't be the explanation. Then we offer the explanation, well, maybe it means like it's for the righteous. We're invoking the quote of our sages that for the righteous, their money is more precious than their physical body because of what they can extend their impact on the world, their mission for which the soul came down so much greater. Maybe that's what he means. But that can't be what he means either, because it's not limited to robbery. It's theft, or any way you take money from a Jew, not just robbery. And then we said, well, maybe it's because when you rob, you might very well end up killing the person because they may resist. And so you consider like you killed them at the outset because you're ready to do that. Just similar, the analogy is coveting. We consider a person who covered something of somebody else like a murderer because you really want to kill the person, eliminate them to get it. And you might even do it. But that couldn't be the meaning here either. Because what difference does it make how you get it? Through theft or robbery? It's the same thing. No. The objection to that is, correct. The objection to that is, no, this only applies to robbery because you're ready to murder. But our objection was, and the Rambam should have said what? It's like you. What was the objection to that possible answer? It doesn't fit in the Rambam's language at all. Why not? Anybody? Because he said it's like you take his life. What he should have said is like you spilled his blood. That's the expression used to describe murder. That's the expression, spilling shvichas domim. That's the language of our sages. That's the language of the coveting example. So why does he change the language here? Obviously, it does not mean that. No, so now we're left with, we don't have an answer.
Rabbi, can I propose something?
Please.
Could it be that, like, if you embarrass someone, it's as if you killed them? So, like, kind of like when you're like throwing somebody money and taking something from them, that's like a complete embarrassment.
You said the word embarrassment? You said the word embarrassment?
I said, isn't it a saying that like if you embarrass someone, it's as if you kill them?
Yeah.
So when you are throwing money at someone and just taking what is theirs, that's very embarrassing. Like you're belittling them.
The case here is taking it without giving money. Taking it by force.
Oh, I thought he was giving money and taking it.
No, Rabbi Yochanan extended it to that, but the Rambam does not include that in his law. It's not. He doesn't include that case. He stopped short of that. The case is right to the case in front of you. If you rob is you're not paying for it. That was our question. Why doesn't he also extend it to the case where the person even pays, as Rabbi Yochanan did, who's the author of this statement? Why does he only quote part of Rabbi Yochanan and not everything he said?
So then my thing doesn't make sense.
Sorry?
So then what I said doesn't make sense. Sorry.
But what you're saying actually is the answer. Let me tell you. Our question is, why is someone who robs like he takes their soul? The answer is, and it's not if you steal, and it's not all of the other, only robbery. Because friends, when someone steals under the cover of darkness, whatever it is, you're not addressing the person. You just want his money. You take his money. So as a result of what you did, you've caused a financial loss. But when you're saying this, Dave, we're onto something. You are standing in front of the person to their face with a gun, whatever it is, and you take it by force. You've not only taken their money, you've dismissed him. It's a deep humiliation. You don't count. You've removed his ownership. It's mine. Theft. I'm not dealing with the owner. I'm not dealing with the owner. When the theft, I mean, that's surreptitiously. I don't even want him to know. I'd be happy if he never even knew that he lost it. I don't care. I'm trying to hurt him. I just want the dollar. And I'm not dealing with the owner. But when you stand the robber looking the owner in the eye, takes by force what's his, what he has done is he has dismissed his value. You are not the owner. He's removed him. He's removed him, and then he takes the article. So there's two things that he's done. Two transgressions. Stole, and he dismissed the sovereign right of ownership of this person. He's removed his ownership. He's dismissed him. He's powerless to stop him. He has crippled his and thwarted and neutralized his ownership over his own article, dismissed it. And in so dismissing the ownership, he's dismissed the owner. That's why this is not murder. Like coveting could lead to literal murder. This is not the same at all. Here, the issue here is the dismissal of the person. And it makes no difference whether it's, therefore it answers all our questions. It's in every case only of robbery. Only of robbery. When you confront the person face to face. And makes no difference whether he's poor or rich. All it comes down to the same thing. It's exactly the same in every scenario. You don't count. Out. I'm taking it. Whether I'm taking $1 from you or $1 billion, that element of dismissal, damage, is a different question. But the dismissal of the person's intrinsic value is the same. Are we clear on the answer? So now we answer why it's in every scenario and why it's only robbery. And therefore, Rabbi Yochanan, who went on to add other severities, they're all different cases. Children, if you pay money for it, you haven't dismissed its value as much as when you take no money. You just take it by force. I'm acknowledging you because I'm giving you money for it. So it doesn't apply. And so it doesn't apply when it's indirect. These are the three scenarios Rabbi Yochanan said, and we were totally puzzled. Why doesn't the Rambam bring them? If he wants to bring out the severity of robbery, the answer is because they are not what he's talking about. There are additional unique considerations and situations, but they do not fall under this principle that he's saying, that when you rob directly, are you dismissing the person's life, his sovereign value. Are we clear? We're clear? Folks, need some feedback. So Dave,
Yes,
when you said this embarrassment,
Rabbi.
Pardon?
Yes.
Yes, Rabbi.
Yeah, so when you said this, when Dave, you're saying this embarrassment, you hit the nail on the head. But that's only when it's right in front of him, his gun, and takes it. You don't count. You're out. Now, next week, Bezrat Hashem, we're going to deal with the second half of the Halacha. having explained what we did, revisiting the second part of the halacha, that if what the robber took no longer exists and he comes back and he wants to pay for it, we don't take it. The sages were very strong, don't take it. Why shouldn't we take it? Surely we're going to help him in his, that's going to help him in his teshuvah by taking it. Why shouldn't we? Now, if the thing did exist, we do take it. It's only if it doesn't. So we're going to revisit that, and a very incredible lesson. An incredible lesson, friends, at the end, next week, Bezrat Hashem, in the way we have to reach out to our fellow Jew in drawing them closer to Yiddishkeit, to help them in Teshuvah, and how Hashem surely deals with us in our personal Teshuvah. It's exquisite. The Chassidus yet to come now. As beautiful as the explanation was till now, that's beautiful. We're explaining the halacha on the halachic legal level. Next week, we're going to explain the details of this in the light of Chassidus, and it's very beautiful.